Hello, everybody. Welcome in. It is so great to see you. Welcome in, Prodigal. True inspiration, my friend. Well done. You did it. When everyone else said you couldn't, you did. Congrats. And it's so good to see you as well, Cubus. Welcome in. Thanks so much for hanging out. And thanks everyone else who's hanging out in the shadows. As always, it's good to see you, friends. I almost gave up. I'm glad you didn't. The world is grateful. I want to show kind of where we're at here with this. I've been doing a lot of restructuring of how this game functions. And it is for the best, I feel. Oh, Endo, thank you for the subscription, my friend. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. I hope you're doing well. Yeah, so what do I even say here? Add a hat. And you know what? I don't have the overlay going. That's why things aren't popping up. My bad. Let me get that up and running. There we go. All right, let's grab the hat. Okay. Woo! Hat time. Okay. So I took your advice, yours and Lime Blossom's advice, Endo, and I ended up ripping out. Hey, Afro Warrior, good to see you over on the YouTube side. Welcome in. I ended up ripping out pretty much everything happening over here, and I just put things on a timer. And kind of instantly, the game started feeling a lot better. Am I the first one on YouTube? I think you are. Yeah. So here's where we're at now. I've added in this sort of hide screen. I've got this little inventory panel. It's super ugly. Like, no UX has gone into it at all. It was just like, I need a way to tell what I have picked, which was a good sign for me. Because before I didn't really care. I was just kind of picking things. And now, due to various decisions we're going to go over just a little bit, I'm like, oh, okay, like, I kind of would like to know what upgrades I've picked so I can try and synergize a little bit more closely. Nice, I like it. Thank you. So we're gonna go ahead and add this little goblin reset node. This will replace one of your pegs. So I put in a peg selection system now. Let's get the basics down first. Yes, 100%. And I was singing yours and Lime Blossom's praise all day long today and yesterday when I was working on this. That all of a sudden stuff started to finally it was able to click in my brain. If you remember last time that we talked, it was like I didn't know what to do. I was struggling to figure out the pacing of how do I give out upgrades on all of these huge, vastly different paradigms of things. And now it's like, oh, okay, like I can tackle this. So simplification, addition by subtraction, really, really good. So put in this system so you can now kind of customize your boards. We're going to put this down right there. So when a ball hits this, it should get picked up by a little goblin hand and pulled to the top of the screen and dropped again. So glad things are clicking now. Yeah, absolutely. I like tacos. I could taco this dude totally. I've replaced the system a little bit. Before you were kind of drafting balls and there were all sorts of different kinds of balls, and I've broken that out a little bit. So now you have your bounce basic balls, and all of this text is awful, by the way. This is not UXified at all. This is totally just like concepts. How do I get concepts working? And then once I have concepts that I'm happy with, we can start adjusting things and making it usable and everything. So the idea is you get regular bounce balls, and then, oh, there it goes. Oh, it's still got that bug where it's like getting duplicated a whole bunch. Gotta take a screenshot of that. And then when you level up, you can either get more of the baseballs, or you can upgrade or evolve one of those baseballs into a special ball, or upgrade like your stats in some other way. You mean feature? Yes, 100%. Excuse me. So we're gonna increase global peg durability there. Hey, it dropped finally. Go team. And you can see there's our phantom ball coming down. It's got that nice little trail effect on it. I like that. So the idea is now you've got like your cache of your plain balls. It looks like they're different categories. You need to condense those. But then all upgrades that you get are stolen from the plane pool. So you're kind of like juggling, how much do I bring in of the planes? Do I need to build out the pool a little bit more in order to feed in for more upgrades, or not, all that good stuff. All right, take care, Prodigal. Thanks for hanging out. And I have been using Cursor very heavily for this because I'm just not a good programmer, which I know everyone will jump to my defense on that. Everyone who has watched this stream is going to jump down my throat and tell me that I can program and that I'm a good programmer and that, gosh darn it, people like me. And I appreciate that. I really, truly do. It's a complete joke. No, I don't think anyone is going to say that. But it allows, we're both terrible programmers. You're far better than I am, Endo, that's for sure. So, excuse me. What it is allowing for is just a huge amount of increase in speed. Like I would be so far behind without Cursor, and it lets me paint with a very broad brush in certain terms and evaluate from there. Like it's rapid prototyping to the extreme. So, for example, I guess one way that I look at it is it's almost like having a pretty good senior developer on your team who is half the time high on weed. And you never know when that time is. So you have to be very deliberate about how you communicate to this developer. So, some cool things that means is that I can say, cool, I've got these systems in place how I like them. Now I need a whole bunch of upgrades that will interlink these systems at this pacing throughout the course of a run. So at the beginning of a run, the player should be picking their balls and kind of developing the starts of something. And then when they beat their first wall, now we start to link things together. And then when they beat their first city boss, then it's time to kind of take those linkings and then shift them over a little bit and change how we approach things. And I can say, give me 5 to 10 abilities for linking all these things together and allowing these different synergies to hook in together, and go. And it will go and do them. And some of them are just gonna make no sense whatsoever. But some of them are gonna be really cool that I would not have thought of. So, there's definitely pros and cons here. Cursor is great to fast prototype for sure. Echo started as purely mouse keyboard. Without the controller, you mean? Okay. Energized peg gains +1 durability per adjacent energized peg. So this is when it has this energized thing on it, which makes it more durable, so it can stay on the board for longer. It is now going to be more durable for every one that's close to it. Okay, that's kind of cool. I like that idea. Now it's only controller. Okay, nice. Was that Cursor? I mean, I would imagine that's the sort of thing AI programming would be really good at is like, hey, take my current control scheme, make it for controllers instead with these mappings, and it would be great. Mouse keyboard is just fast to develop for some reason. Oh, interesting. Okay, so now we have Peg with 3+ leech stacks and energized implodes, destroys itself plus adjacent pegs, massive energy burst. Obviously, not sticking the landing on the writing, right? But this is kind of like a cool idea, right? Like if we have 3 stacks of leech on a peg and it's energized, then there's a reaction, right? Okay, cool. I like that. So we can say, hey, keep these abilities. I like these ones. These other ones are not hitting the mark. And then we apply our designer eye, our critical lens, and we come up with solutions and we deal with it. And it makes things so fast. And frankly, a whole lot more bug free than if I was making. I've got a whole suite of automated unit tests in here. It's great. So yeah, I've been kind of cranking through this. I'm liking it. I'm seeing synergies start to come out of this kind of primordial soup, and having a great time. Fortune's favorite. Tell me it isn't so. Are you using AI to build a game? I am using AI to code the game. We're not using AI to design it, and none of the artwork is going to be AI. Yeah. So that's kind of where we're at. I think it's at the stage right now where I need to start evaluating it against kind of the design lens where like there's a bunch of systems in here and I think they're working all right. I think it's time to kind of take it to the next level and start applying a more critical lens to this and trying to actually plan out more of the systems beyond the sort of starting approach. Biggest danger is just not learning what you coded, which will lead to slamming into a certain knowledge wall at a certain point. If you can stay on top of that, you're safe for the most part. Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, with everything that I'm telling Cursor to do, I'm actually reading the results and figuring out how things are going, right? Oh boy, that is going to be a bloated game. Bloated in what regard? Fortunes. All right. Have you decided if it's a first monitor or a second monitor game? Yeah, it's gonna be a first monitor game. Yeah. This is not something to run in the background, so to speak. So there's going to be a lot of, the theory is there will be a lot of kind of trying to evaluate, okay, where are things going? How do I manage the board? What are we needing to manage in terms of the synergy and everything? AI also has a tendency to write more and more instead of editing what's there. True. Yeah, I've already had to pull it back a couple of times and say like, hey, for our testing file, don't just write a new like line saying variable 3 bombs equals true. Like set a starting deck and then we will edit that starting deck. Don't set all this weird stuff. Cursor's the AI. I thought you meant cursor versus control. Oh no, yeah. Especially the autocomplete type, since you basically start a new thing every time. What do you mean by the autocomplete types, Cubus? I want to make sure I'm understanding. Annoying naming. Oh goodness. So that's kind of where it's at right now. There are a lot of things that I'm liking about it, and then there's a lot of things where I think it needs a lot of work. Too often AI generate slow code, so things run slow, and there's usually more code. There's 100% fortunes. It's something that been working with, and I'm not too concerned about that right now. Although I have had to go back in and say like, hey, like the performance on this is wrong. It's redrawing this interaction every frame. Like, please tidy this up, and it goes in. So you're not wrong. You're not wrong. Of the two ways, one is chat based and the other is like fancy autocomplete in your code. Just don't go agentic. Just don't go agentic. What are you talking about? Yeah, I know this is a bit of a sensitive subject, but really, truly, frankly, the reality is AI is getting used by pretty much every organization out there. Indies are, it's kind of like handmade guitars, right? Like every guitar is mass produced, except for the people who are able to get a a large enough group of fans of handmade craftsmanship, and they get to keep on making things by hand. 100%. I'm 100% against LLMs as AI. I know, Fortunes. Agentic is basically letting the AI take over the entire coding process without much human review. I don't know that that's necessarily agentic related. Like I think you can still do that without agents, but yeah. As a solo dev, just get it done. If you're not using it for art or design, it's fine. Oh my gosh, I know. There's a lot of opinions and beliefs on AI right now. I for the record, I fully believe the current use of AI will lead to a generation of people who don't understand the world around them. Like right here, we're seeing performance issues, right? This leech effect, I've had to take a look at this multiple times, and especially with the hand thing, it causes issues, right? There's definitely issues there. I fully believe the current use of AI will lead to a generation of people who don't understand the world around them. I think it could. But I also think like that same argument was leveraged by Stoic philosophers against writing. You know? For the record, I'm not a fan of how AI was created, right? How it was basically stealing a whole bunch of work. It is not the first thing to have stolen a bunch of work and profited off of it, right? Anyone who belongs to a minority group will be able to share plenty of stories of, oh yes, this famous person stole this thing that we already did. That was that same thing, and then they just made it for the majority. But that doesn't excuse it, right? It's still bad. 100% on that. I think you'll want to stagger that peg hit effect over a few frames. All at once lags. What do you mean by stagger that peg hit effect over a few frames? I think the best thing that might come from LLM such AI is the rewriting of copyright law. I was talking to a patent lawyer about AI the other day, and there's a lot. I mean, it sounds super dry, but there's actually a lot of really interesting things happening in there, and so many really true, genuine concerns. Like there's precedent that's been set that if something was created by AI, it can't be patented. But then where does that line get drawn of when was it created by AI and when was it created by a person, right? If someone draws up a schematic and says, this is the theory, I just need you to execute on it, and they build it, is that made by the AI or was that made by the person? I think there's a lot of good question marks there. Nintendo and Pal World is ridiculous. I completely agree with you there. Moving past AI design problem, I'm interested to see you solve. How do you make it so choice fatigue doesn't happen with the upgrades? And that is an issue. And this is after I have slowed it down dramatically. It used to be that you were like picking stuff every like 2 seconds. And it still feels like a lot and like everything moves really quickly. And it could be that that's a reason to push it into a secondary monitor type of game. Because if we're going to slow it down, because like I'm given 5 minutes for that first fight, essentially. It was done in 30 seconds. And it still felt a little slow, to me, at least. That's, if all of a sudden that fight is taking a full 5 minutes and the player is only making choices and only modifying the board and stuff, yeah, maybe that does need to get pushed to a second monitor game, and maybe it does need to get pushed into an incremental rather than a roguelike. I'm not 100% sure on that yet. At current pacing, it's 1.5 monitor. Yeah. So I've been trying to think about, like, what are some active elements that can be brought in that lead to you managing the board in a satisfying way, or while still retaining the spirit of it. So aiming either the pegs or the can. Yeah. So I was wondering if maybe like putting it on a track and it follows your mouse, because there is this big problem where like this center area is always empty and then these sides are always full. So if you're kind of like bouncing it around, right, and doing things, I want it to be very chaotic in nature, right? So one thing I've considered is, what about like loot goblins, essentially, Then you can't watch the pegs if you have to aim the cannon. This is tough. It's true. You're not going to be seeing specifics on the pegs, but I think you'd still pick up a lot, right? Like if you are aiming the cannon and you're just putting your cursor right here, you're still watching it fall and then kind of using your peripheral vision to see what's going on in the other areas and then moving the mouse and everything, right? So I've wondered, like, what if, there were random events that would happen and like there's a treasure goblin that shows up in the middle of the board and you have to hit it with, have to try and hit it with balls. And if you do that, you get a level up or something, right? Or you get a stat bonus. Oh, actually, that might be an interesting way to build the stat bonuses in. Because it's always such a bummer when you get a level up and your reward is like a slightly more efficient base engine that doesn't have any real visual impact. Like these, like 5 extra damage per cannon shot. I don't think I've ever picked that because it's just boring. But if it is, something that you just accrue by playing well, maybe that's something. I'd argue if the juice is done right, you want to watch the pegs like Nubbies or Bali and Air. Not for strategy, but for dopamine. It's true. You know what? Let's load up Nubbies. It's been a long time since I've played Nubbies. I need to get a refresher on how that works. Oh gosh, it's in full screen. Why are you in full screen? Stop it. Oh gosh. Where are we at here? Come on, Nubbies. There we go. Okay. Not full screen. Thank you. Great. Alright, how are we looking? That's looking okay. Okay, so warehouse? Greetings, the name's Sparkplug. You've entered my realm, the warehouse. Okay. You buy and activate cosmetic Nubby skins. Okay. So this is for, exactly what it is saying. It's for cosmetics for the people that play this a whole bunch. Got it. Great. Okay. Oh, do we really need a giant tutorial for this? Oh my gosh. Okay. Excuse me. Okay. So let's go ahead and delete this. This is gotta be a super old thing. Also very loud. Yeah, is the sound better? Oh, it looks like they've added some more. Jeez, so many characters. Holy crap. I got all the characters back when I played this. Jeez. Wow. Okay. Let's just do the standard Nubby experience. I know that's a straight debuff, but that's okay. Okay. So click to continue. Aim with that's right. It's such a weird interface. Like, why not just automatically? Why am I holding down the right mouse button? Is there a reason for that? I don't think that ever like actually matters. It could just have you automatically aiming it. Like, I don't know. There's nothing else to click on here. I don't know. Okay. There we go. So I like how snappy it is, but I also really hate that I'm like 4 rounds in and I have the same build that I started with. Like, that feels bad. And I know that, excuse me, the other characters kind of help anchor things a little bit, but it still feels bad to me. I prefer, I think the character selection is good, but I also, man, I really think that you need to get an item earlier. I guess we could implement a currency system. I mean, that would be in line with goblins in general, right? So actually, let's, first 4 rounds are a waste. I would agree. Let me bring up, oh my goodness. Okay. Let me bring up Figma here. So we go here, we bring up Chrome. We go. And we're gonna do our good old friend Octalysis for the current version of the Goblin. So, come on, Figma. All right, epic meaning, it's kind of there. You know, you're like assaulting a kingdom, but you're not really, you know, bought in, right? It's like, oh, this is silly and fun. Empowerment, some of it is taken away from you because you're not choosing where to aim. You're not choosing exactly how the ball falls and everything, right? First thing I noticed in Nubbies, it might be good to steal. You always see your relics and items. Sure. Yeah. And that's why I got that whole inventory system put in today, because that was very clear. And having that continuously visible, I think, would be a great next step. You are defining a lot of your build. Like, the choices that you make very much matter, but you don't get to make every choice. So I'm gonna put the empowerment kind of like there. Social influence, I mean, it's a roguelike. They rarely have social influence unless they're like multiplayer. I think it's silly and wacky and fun, theoretically, so people might like share it and talk about it. But is it like squirrel with a gun? No. It's probably pretty low on the social influence. Unpredictability, incredibly high. Random rewards, random bouncing and everything, all that stuff, very high. Avoidance is really low. Like, that timer is very generous. You don't need to worry about it very much. You're not trying to avoid a whole bunch. Scarcity, you have scarcity in the upgrades that are offered, but a ton of them get offered. So, I mean, you get a ton of like the ball reward upgrades, and only a few of the, like, you beat a boss, now you get your relic, right? So maybe, somewhere over there. Ownership, yeah, by the end, you probably have a very unique build, but does it feel very unique? Does it feel like something you really made at this stage of the game? I don't think it really is. I think it's very like, here's this slot, big soup bowl that I made with just a bunch of stuff in it. It doesn't have that cohesive, yes, I built this really cool system quite yet. It's starting to kind of appear, but it's not there yet. And then accomplishment, I mean, it's pretty, it's so easy. Like you get a big sense of spectacle at the end of a run, and like everything is exploding and all that sort of stuff, and that's cool, but like, is it really a whole lot? Not really. So what are some things that I'd like to address? I think empowerment needs to get thrown up way higher. Social influence, I think I'd like to tackle that later. Unpredictability, I'm okay with, because the whole point is like this chaotic goblin insanity, right? But I also would like more scarcity to kind of pair that empowerment. And then I would also like a little bit more avoidance, and I think that would kind of drive up the accomplishment a good amount if we were able to just push that forward a little bit. And then ownership, I really want to throw up high. So how do we make that delta, right? How do we make those shifts? I think we've talked about a couple of different options. Aiming is a very quick empowerment thing. Adding those kind of random things happening on the board for the player to keep a lookout for and to try and hit could be a thing. I'm struggling to envision that. Like, I'm trying to, like, I think it's a cool idea, but then trying to put numbers to it and get down to brass tacks, I think, how often would that just become not really a decision, just something you have to do, right? It would be really tricky, and I think there's probably a more elegant solution than that. Maybe in that realm, but not that exactly. And then I do like the idea of the currency system. Because that would drive scarcity up really high. And it would force you to kind of think about what you add. I do like that. But what would that look like here? The whole, like, using the energy that you build to generate upgrades idea, I think is just, I think that needs to get ditched. I do. I think that needs to get replaced with a more elegant system if we're going to push these up. Otherwise, you're just getting things every single time that they're offered, which I actually do like, but I want the decision to mean something. I've always said I really want a card game roguelike, where you're incentivized to take cards into your deck instead of getting like 3 or 4 good cards and then doing everything in your power to trim your deck down. And there are some games that take a step in that direction. Like, I forget what it is. There's a roguelike where you pick 2 characters and like you get extra passives for them if you get at least X number of cards, right? And it kind of gradates up. Killer Darlings, you're feeling it? Yeah. The big question for me is how to do it in a way that accomplishes the objectives, right? So, for example, if all of a sudden you're not just getting stuff based off of how well you're performing in the game, essentially, and you are earning currency, we have to now earn the currency somehow. Somehow there has to be money that you make. And you have to have a shop event trigger somehow. And then you have to decide what all is available in that shop. And so like it's slashing a very simple system and replacing it with several other systems, right? So it is a decent complexity boost, which is kind of what we're looking for, right? That's what's going to help that empowerment, the ownership, the scarcity. I kind of hate the thin your deck archetype in roguelike, so I never engage with it. Yeah. And I'd really like to avoid that. The whole objective, I mean, not the whole objective, but a huge part of the vision of this is, you know, you're like one part goblin, one part crow, and it's just, ooh, shinies, give me, right? It's a complexity boost, but I think that's a good thing. I do think that's a good thing, too. I think that's definitely something to look at. Also, good to see you, Queen Anne. Welcome in. Okay, so let's jot down some notes here. So, aiming, cannon, on-board events, question mark, because I'm struggling to see how that doesn't just become drop everything and try and hit that. We're gonna do currency to purchase rewards. We're gonna need a shop system. And let's kind of explore what the shop system could be. The shop system could be every X seconds, so a timer based, every X seconds, a shop rolls up and you buy things. It could be an on-board event you have to hit, so like a traveling merchant or something coming to the town that you ambush and say, great, you're going to sell to us now. It could be, excuse me. It could just be that there's always a shop and it never refreshes without coins. So you have to spend in order to get more things. Every X cannon shots is another option. Yes, every X cannon shots. That's like an eat your veggies game design thing. I know it's super powerful, but I know it's not good for my enjoyment. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It is a really powerful space, but I also think it's incredibly limiting, right? It feels so bad to me in all these games. As much as I love Monster Train, as much as I love Slay the Spire, as much as I love all these games, it has always felt horrible to me that 9 out of 10 rewards that I'm given, I skip. Because they actively hurt me. That's not a reward, you know? That's a trap. And it sucks that that's such a big learning event when you're, or a big event you have to reach when you're learning these games is, oh, I don't actually want the shiny candies. I want very particular shiny candies and nothing else. Like that, I don't know, it just feels really bad to me. And I think it's neglecting a lot of design space in favor of that. It should give you +3 something for refusing it. Yeah, like some games try and do that with, like, you know, Monster Train gives you a little bit of cash if you skip a reward, right? But it's still very much like a token thing. It's like, do you want this shiny toy or a couple of pennies? Like, I'd like the toy, please. Have you ever played Darkest Dungeon? I have. Yes, I am curious what you're getting at here, Fortunes. Because I'm trying to think about, I guess maybe you're talking about the inventory system in Darkest Dungeons? Succeeding when giving huge negatives is so rewarding. It's true. Succeeding when given, yes, it is true. Excuse me. And I think you see a lot of that come through in games like Binding of Isaac and Mugenics as well, where a lot of it is about, holy crap, that giant shark just ate half of my team. Can I still pull this out? Like, any equipment in that game, even the legendary stuff, is negative to you. Yes, the yuck yum style of equipment and everything and buffs can be really cool, but it is really hard to pull off. Very difficult to have the yuck not nullify or outweigh the yum. And frankly, I don't know that I'm a good enough of a designer to really broach that. I don't think I have the experience and the feel to be able to build a system like that well. This is too much complexity. Stop me. What if the wall has several layers or sections? As you break down the wall, you can work towards events/shops instead of having one solid wall, so aiming cannon shots at wall parts has reward. And people win streak on Slay the Spire, so I think it's just something most people are not used to. What are you saying in that sentence is, what is the thing that they're not used to, in your sense? And we kind of have that, right? Because we have, like, each city has the different walls. I mean, I guess you could have... we could split it out even more so that there's, like, 3 fights and then the wall 1, and then 3 fights and then wall 2, and then 3 fights and then wall 3. And that's, like, the first city. More Minecraft digging or Dome Keeper? So you're saying not aiming like where the balls are going, but rather aiming your cannon and trying to kind of chip away at the thing. See, now you've got me envisioning a 3D incarnation of this game where it's almost like Lovers in a Dangerous Space-Time, where you have to, like, manage all these different stations, and you can only manage one at a time. So you have to, like, run over to your board, make sure the balls are all getting loaded and everything, and then run back over to the cannon, aim the cannon at the wall, and be plinking away at the right spot. Run over to your turret and gun down the things that are coming at you, right? Chip away with the cannon. I think that would be really cool for a better game dev than me, I think. But I could totally see that working really well. Hey, Incredible, good to see you, friend. Welcome in. Getting rewards that are subpar or appear negative are not what people expect from rewards, where it sounds like you prefer games that have feel-good rewards that always work. I don't need rewards that always work, but I do want rewards to feel meaningful. And I feel like in those games, 9/10 of the rewards are actively making your experience worse. I think that kind of sucks, personally. And I can see the appeal, and I enjoy it myself, but I think it's such a narrow slice of design, and there's a whole other world to explore outside of it, is my point. The Yuck Yum systems turn me off, usually, at least with roguelikes. If I have to choose 3 things, and the only one that would be okay for my build will drop my health, then I'm not feeling that. That's interesting, because I can see it. Like, if you're going for, like I can understand stuff like that, like when you are, like, Path of Exile, right? There's so many builds in Path of Exile where, like, you take your health down to 1, but you have 8 billion barrier, right? That's fun. That's a fun trade-off, and you can kind of get a different experience when playing. No 3D, keep it top-down, even that's too much scope creep for me. It is definitely a delayed reward system, since a lot of subpar rewards eventually turn into god runs. You don't get that immediate dopamine hit. It's an interesting point, but I feel like we might be talking about different things. Because from those latest statements, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but from those latest statements, it sounds like what you're saying is even non-exciting cards can become integral parts of incredible runs. And to that, I would totally agree with you. But if you watch like top Slay the Spire players, they're skipping most of the rewards, right? And that's what I'm trying to focus on is I don't want skipping to be almost the default option unless something is enticing. I want this to be a game of wacky excitement and explosions and everything getting out of control and out of hand in a way that you have built a Rube Goldberg machine that can accomplish things. They suggest a marketplace where people can buy / sell balls to other players. Yeah, but what if that was for real world money? Or fun bucks they can only buy with real world money. That might be fun. Most infinite combos in Slay the Spire use common cards instead of rare cards, so skipping common cards is bad. Yes, if you know what those infinite combos are. And interestingly, the new beta branch for Slay the Spire 2 is like they're really pushing hard against infinite decks, which is interesting, right? I meant with real money, like the banana game. Yeah. Plinko Goblin NFT. Oh gosh. Excuse me. Okay. Slay the Spire 2 infinite combos were way too easy. It needed to be nerfed. Yeah, that's what I've heard. I personally have never made an infinite combo in Slay the Spire 2. But that's because I'm not like following the meta. I'm playing it like what I imagine a normal person would play it. That would increase social influence. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. Oh yeah, and if you invite 5 other people and they also buy fun bucks, then you get free fun bucks. We'll just crank that through the roof. I'm liking this direction. I think this is a good thing to be exploring. Let's go back to Nubbies and kind of just play through it a little bit more and see what else comes to mind. Every character having an infinite also made everyone feel the same. Sure. Yeah. Jax. We'll get that done. Then we aim. So this is one thing that they have, right, is like on proc effects. I almost wonder if I should be applying on proc effects to the balls as they stand, for especially for the bigger ones, right? It can give rewards that are objectively good, like no trade-offs, no weird feeling, but they can be minor enough effects that it doesn't break the game every time you get an item. Then the goal is to achieve critical mass. Sure. Will I be Godoting it? Yes, we're building this in Godot. Could your game be starting with too many balls? And I have wondered that too. I've toyed around in my head with playing around with the idea of like maybe you start with only 3 balls, and 10 is just too much and it gets out of hand too quick. You don't have to like engage in the sort of juggling and everything. Change lightning / explosion to on proc instead of by default. Starter game looks like mid game or end game. Yeah, I can definitely see that. Explore more on proc effects. Okay. Do balls have power? As in, like, do different balls hit for different amounts? The answer right now is no. Because if we bring the game up here, one struggle I have with that is how does that interact with this idea of like the pegs being knocked out, right? So this is a depleted peg, it is empty, it needs to recharge. So if we have a ball that gets more energy, does it deplete the peg faster, because that's kind of like where the balls get their score from, is how many pegs they hit. So if it just depletes them faster, then that doesn't feel very good, right? Because then everything's just falling to the ground and you're not actually getting anything. If it doesn't affect, if like durability and score generated are different levers and they're not affected by each other, I could see it like you just score it for more. Or points multiplier. Points multiplier. That's an interesting idea, because that's something I don't play with at all. Good example, your goblin hand peg feels underwhelming because going from 10 to 11 is meh, but going from 2 to 3 is a huge visual difference. Yes. Yeah, I agree with you. I definitely agree with that. All right, let me throw this on here. Let's capture more of these notes. I appreciate everyone's thoughts here, by the way. You are providing volunteer input, and I deeply appreciate it. Start with much fewer balls. Let's jump back into Nubbies. I kind of want to explore one of the bosses a little bit and get to that point at least. And it might even be good to check out the Vampire Survivors card game. I can never remember the name of it. Goodness gracious. Ugh. All right. There we go. That's a bit better. All right, we got it. Can balls have skins or cosmetics? Not right now. Maybe later. We might build that in. I'm of two minds. Starting in a mid-game state is important because the drag of a classical early game might turn away new players, but also is a simple, boring start load-bearing. That's an interesting way to put it. Load-bearing. I think to a certain degree, yes, it is important. No, okay, so this is an interesting thing, right? Like, if we go looking at the boss, right? This peg will pop the highest number peg when popped will not pop itself. So, this isn't a boss. Oh, jeez. That's not a boss round, I don't believe, but it's one of those examples of like onboard effects, right? Of give you something to aim for to kind of change up how you're doing it, and also changing the layout of this every time also is doing a lot. I almost wonder, okay, all right. So let's go back here. So more ideas here. Randomized peg layout every X somethings, like whether that's X seconds or like once all the pegs, maybe pegs don't refresh until all pegs are depleted, and then the board shuffles order randomly. Have I heard of marbles on Steam? Maybe just straight up marbles. Oh, marbles on stream. A marble racing game for everyone. You can simulate races yourself or stream it on twitch.tv with your viewers. Wow, what a generous game. Many features in-game help to interact with your viewers and engage with them in unique ways. 3 ways to play. Okay, interesting. So it's a marble run racing thing, but built for stream integrations. Big Layout is a great move. That's powerful. Okay. Swap over here. So yeah, like on the boss level, I am pretty confident. I remember there being like some bad things as well, right? That you could get to a point where you're like, I want to hit the thing with a lot of points, but I'm actively trying to avoid this big problem that the boss is throwing at me. That could be something that we bring in to the game. That could help give a lot more personality to the things that you're fighting as well. It's quite popular on Twitch. Really? Interesting. And back to that yuck yum discussion as well. I think that could be a fun way to introduce some yuck yum, actually. Is not that it don't impair stats, but yes, potentially bring in something problematic on board, right? So let's say you have this would not work in the game, but it's just to communicate the idea, right? If you have a lifesteal upgrade that you get, and now one of the pegs at random is going to be a vampire, and when you hit that vampire, it's going to eat everything, all the pegs around it, and then it'll go away. But it takes all that energy from them, so it actively kind of weakens things, so you kind of have to maneuver around it as much as you can so that it hurts you less, while also getting like a big upgrade, right? Like, I think there's interesting things. If it's not going in your pocket, I'm all for it. What do you mean not going in your pocket? If you do that, you almost need to be able to aim your pegs. Yeah, I think I'm kind of sold on that idea up here. I think I'm sold on aiming the cannon, having onboard events of some sort, although need to kind of work out exactly what that looks like. I think the randomizing the layout is going to be a big ingredient in that. Then I need to play around with, like, what will that shop system actually be? Not totally sure. I do still want to... Oh, goodness. Jeez, this game. I remember this, so that it's just... It consistently bounces in bizarre ways that you just cannot predict. Oh, goodness. That's not going to work. Oh, it did work. Great. Yuck Yum is good, in my opinion, if it's not part of your permanent build. Oh, interesting. I like Yuck Yum if it's something I can meaningfully play around. If it's just this overwhelming, holy crap, all this stuff is happening, I can't really track it, and it's just, I feel like I don't make any progress, or, hey, I get this, which gives me a cool boost, but now I'm just worse in other things just by default. Like, that's not very fun for me. But if it's something I can meaningfully play around, and this is where I think, like, to Fortune Favorite's point, like the Yuck Yum style of thinning your deck down can work. Because yes, you do inherently have a Yuck by adding something into your deck, as well you have the Yum, but you can at least play around deck size, right? You can manage your deck size. You can get more card draw. You can get infinite loops, right? You can get cards that allow you to pull specific cards from your deck. You can do all these sorts of things to slightly mitigate that yuck side of things. So I can understand why that's not such a big deal for some people. And I think it's because of that ability to kind of play around it. I agree, if Yuck Yum is a boss state, it's okay. Okay. Let's see. Yeah, sure. Force triggers the item in your left slot. Something that's also interesting to note here with Nubbies is they just have... it's very limited, right? You only have 7 items max, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 relics max, and you almost never fill that out, right? And so the scarcity comes in from the which things do I want or not. And I don't think I want an upper limit, at least not like a reasonable upper limit. But I think there's something to be thought about here with that idea of scarcity, right? And that's where I think the currency system can help out in a lot. The inherent nature of like that hopper only being a certain size is also kind of a decision that the player has to make, right? Of like, where am I going to be dropping these things? Pops a random peg. When this peg pops, it will give points twice. Sure. Remember that, yeah, getting this store is a really big deal. All right. There we go. There we go. Nice. Hades 1 and 2 do Yuck Yum the best, in my opinion. You choose a negative to get a positive from Chaos. Yeah, that it's temporary. Yeah, and it goes away after a couple of rooms, right? Yeah, I can definitely see what you're saying. It's the only reason Nubby works with only 7 items. True, but the complexity comes from trigger slot 1. Yes, there's a lot of positional complexity and making things trigger. And how do you? They're also with that Rube Goldberg engine, but the Rube Goldberg engine is kind of less down here and more up here, right? You're more focused on how to make this go crazy so that this goes crazy. And I kind of want to not necessarily flip that, but I do want the emphasis on things to be down here, right, in my game. Okay, are we going to hit a boss? Where's the boss? The Grabatron. No thanks. Okay, we got the special round, right? So we get the sneaky snipers. So if I hit that, then that's hitting the top score thing, which is cool. It's a fun little extra. Ooh, let's mix it up a little bit sort of moment. Let's see, is the next one gonna be a boss? All right. Sure, let's get that. Let's get that. And let's get that. That's not gonna work. Reroll. Yes, I remember you being really good. I'm actually gonna. Can I sell you? Yeah, there we go. And get Jax, and then. Let's go ahead and sell the block and get the boogers. Yeah, that scarcity does a lot for making this system work. Oh, see, now this is a problem. I don't remember what the effect is. I'd love to be able to hover over it and hover over it somewhere and see kind of what these things do. You got loot. And this is a big deal too, right? This unpredictable sort of, I guess it's not super unpredictable. It does tell you when it's coming, but it's unrelated to the shop, right? It's a progress track outside of that shop. Scarcity adds a ton of ownership, 100%. Huzzah! I think we're kind of getting a lot of good stuff out of here. We are getting close to my time. So I'm gonna bring us back here. Excuse me. boss level events. I think this is going to be a much stronger game. And I think these are things I can implement by the next stream to the biggest question mark I have, like I'm pretty much sold on every idea in here. The only thing is how does the shop system work? Like how you get rewarded for overshooting the goal in nubbies. I do as well, but here's my problem with that. I remember feeling when I was playing it more seriously than what we were just barely doing, that if I didn't succeed by a certain amount over the goal, that the run was dead. Because that getting into those absurdly high success things where it just like skips a time lapse forward and auto combines everything for you, it kind of feels like those were the only runs that would actually succeed. And if I kind of got par, so to speak, I was going to slowly keep on losing. So it gets vague on what the goal is. I guess so, but it just, I don't know. It felt like the game was lying to me when it said that I succeeded. And maybe that's not as big a deal as I think it is in my head. Maybe I'm making much ado about nothing there. Because it does allow for kind of a soft success or fail state, right? You can have like 80% of a good success. You can have 130% of a good success. You can have a full good success, or like 20% of a good success. And all of those things will let you continue to advance through the game. So I guess in that sense, maybe it's actually incredibly clever. That's something to think about. All right, so this is dumb. Freaking getting all these ideas up. Street Fighter car level interludes, right? Like you beat the boss. Now you have 30 seconds to deal as much damage to the car or the fridge or whatever as you possibly can. And based on how much damage you do, you get a reward. I also dislike it if you're allowed to play, but you've already lost. I narrow my eyes at that. Yeah. As far as the shop system goes, I'm almost leaning towards there's always a shop and you refresh it with coins. And then I think there also needs to be a relic reward at quote unquote random. Like it needs to feel kind of random outside of the shop. That's a great idea. I think one of the things I don't like about nubbies is that I don't think there's an upper limit on how much it. Well, is it like times 99 or something? Maybe there is an upper limit. I don't remember on like how much it buffs you for the next round. So you need to use the currency to refresh the shop to spend currency. Yeah. So like you need to make sure you're going in with a certain amount of coins, but also it's always available. So if you only have enough coins to refresh it and you want to see what's in there, like you can go in there, you can refresh it, leave, accrue coins, and then go in and buy stuff. I guess the question is, does that remove a lot of tension, right? If you know you have something available in a shop, do you just park it? Or should the shop be like specific to each city that you have? And so you can go in there, you can refresh it, you can do those things, and it will wait for you until you finish that level. And then it's going to force refresh. So there is still that sort of cutoff on it. It's not special now. Does it need to be special? Could the refreshing of it feel special enough? And I'm not saying that it would. It's just, I think these are things to kind of think about. Getting upgrades should always be a moment. Yes, I agree with you. But can that moment be, oh, look, this is available now. Holy crap, can we save up enough money in order to buy it? And then that could incentivize you to be like, okay, we have to just beeline money and just hope that we can do enough damage to the wall that we don't lose. And instead push for it, right? Vampire Survivor is actually what I'm thinking about with all this. If you can find a way to make the shop interaction like the Vampire Survivor, congratulations, you just won at a slot machine feel, right? And it's why I do want to play their deck building game, because it subverts a lot of genre expectations in that regard. If you're told what you're getting for Christmas during Thanksgiving, are you excited about opening that gift? But that, I don't feel like that's an accurate. If I agree with you, if there's not another cutoff for the shop, if there is no event that refreshes it outside of the player asking for it to be refreshed, then I agree with you. I think that's kind of weak and would need to be adjusted. But if it will automatically refresh at certain points that you know about, then all of a sudden it's, do I have enough money or time to push for another refresh, or is it better to save and try and get through the next thing when it will manually refresh, and then I can go in and do it myself if I need to? I don't know. I'm an outlier here, I know that, but I hate re-rolling shops. It flattens the variance of every run. Get a bunch of money, re-roll a bunch, and you get one of the same 3 builds you'll always go for. And that's a good point. That's a very good point, Queen Anne. It would have high unpredictability like in the shop, but if you get enough money to just brute force rerolls, then effectively, right, each individual moment is unpredictable, but over time, it does go down a lot. So, I mean, that's a really good point. That's a very good point for why that might not work. That would have to be driven by such a heavy scarcity economy that I don't think I want that in this game. Almost need to protect the player from themselves too. Yeah. So maybe it's a special event. Maybe it is every X cannon shots or every X seconds. But I think, as much as I liked that idea, I do think that is the Achilles heel, Queen Anne. I think you're dead right on that. Some people will be stubborn and force items. Yeah, I mean, what's that great legendary line of players will optimize the fun out of any game? So, yeah. Vampire crawlers. This is what I need to do some research on and see how they bring in that classic Vampire Survivors lottery feeling with more developers, better experience, and in a new genre. Players are the worst. I think nearly every game developer in history would agree with you. uh, This has been super, super productive for me. Thank you. Thank you, Endo. Thank you, Queen Anne. Thank you, Fortunes and Cubic and Incredible. Thank you, everyone who has provided thoughts and input today. It means the world to me, and it is so, so, so helpful. I think I'm gonna call it there. It is pretty late, and work is crazy pants. It's a big time at work right now. So I do need to get to bed on time. Also, you know, being a parent, all those fun things, they require energy. So I'm gonna hit the sack. You're freaking vibing, man. So much design done today. Well, thanks to everyone. I kind of went into this without much of a plan and feeling excited about where it got to, and then very quickly with the help of the group, we were able to kind of get some really solid improvements to the formula here, and I think that's going to be really, really great. So thank you so much. Thank you as well, everyone. Appreciate you. Oh, and we will catch you next time. As always, drop your progress on your things in the Discord, share your triumphs, share your struggles. It's always great seeing what everyone is up to. But most of all, keep building, keep creating, keep on putting things out into the world that mean something and say something. We'll catch you next time.